Hey guys, this is Master of Flowers. This is going to be a response video to Win's video, or TowerguardDM's video, on what characters are you playing presently. I'm not actually playing in any game at the moment, as I tend to be just I tend to DM all the time, but I do have an NPC that I enjoyed playing recently in the Pathfinder game that I'm running. His name is Phineas the Fantastic, and he is a halfling bard. He's about ninth level. The player characters, when they first met him, were about 6th level. He was a little bit slightly higher. And halfling bard, not really much there to say, oh, that's different. But what I had done is he was part of an adventuring troupe. There was a dwarf, an elven sorcerer, or sorceress, sorry, a cleric of Jester, which is just a god of the sun in my world, and a rogue named the Shade, I think he named him. And they were an adventuring group that ran up against a creature. They ran up against a Paragon Remoraz type creature, and it destroyed everyone in his group, and he was so close to that, and during the fight he was hit, and the trauma caused him to take on the personalities of each of the people in his party. So that every morning when he awoke, I randomly rolled to find out what character he was playing. So I could randomly roll, and he could be the elven sorceress, and he would keep her clothing, and he would put on her robes, and carry her wand. And as a bard, he could totally pull off being an arcane spellcaster. An extremely high, bluff and diplomacy to help with this, and because of the bard's bardic knowledge, he was able to pull out knowledge on everything pertaining to it, and that worked with being a cleric as well, as on his spell list he had some of the cures, so that when when people needed, if he showed up pretending to be a cleric of Jester, he would be able to cure and basically pass himself off as a cleric, and obviously he had the gear and equipment from each one of the people, and even though none of that equipment and gear fit him, he still had it, and when he emulated the dwarf, he would pull out the hand axe that the dwarf used in battle, and it had magical properties of its own, but he would recite epic poems, and he would basically increase his powers with his bardic ability, so basically he would inspire courage on himself, and it would make him a slightly better fighter. So I had him, basically, that was the background on him before he even met the players, and when he first comes in to meet the players, they were fighting some ghouls, and an old abandoned church. They're fighting ghouls, and he steps in and he does the whole holy Cesterian thing, and he heals one of the ghouls that's there. He casts a cure spell on him, and we know that cures do damage to the undead and destroys the ghoul. So the players see him, and they're a little weirded out by him having extremely long flowing robes that don't really fit him, but he's spewing all the right stuff, he's saying all the right things, he's acting exactly like a cleric of Cester should be acting. And one of the players had gotten injured, and they bring him outside, and he performs a ritual on the player, and casts a minor cure spell on him, and tells him that he'll be okay, and he won't get any type of disease or anything like that. And the players, for their part, even though they knew there was something fishy going on, they really just played along with it, figuring that there was something about this, maybe that it's just a strange halfling, or maybe there was, I don't really know what they were thinking. I know that they went along with it, so and after they found out that he was there to cure the demon that was that was destroying this town, and the players had already done this, so he was showing up after the fact. So he ends up joining them, and they start traveling. And the first day when they wake up, I actually rolled the sorceress was, the randomly who he came up as, and he became the female sorceress. And that was a little weird, because when they wake up, to describe the halfling, he's wearing light, makeup, and he does, in my eyes, he kind of has, he had long kind of long curly blonde hair, and he kind of had that all down around his face, and more of a feminine type style to him. And because he has acting as a bard, that was one of the skills I gave him. He was able to kind of pull it off, and I tried to play it off, and it's kind of hard for me to play. I'm sure my players look at me and say, okay, he's definitely not a woman. Maybe a female dwarf. I don't know. With the beard, but but they role played with it, and even though they could feel that there was something wrong, they just didn't know what was wrong. They didn't know if he was insane or was he going to attack and kill them. But he had asked them to help, and he had said that he had friends who needed help, and and it was on their way to where they were going anyways. So they said, okay, they would help him, and he could accompany them. I think on the next day when they awoke in the morning, I had rolled the shade, and that was the rogue, and he basically the rogue that was their friend was kind of a chaotic neutral rogue that traveled with them, calling himself the Shade, and I had given him magical equipment so that he could, like an elven cloak and an elven boot, so he was really quiet. So the bard, Phineas, having those equipment and gear and the two daggers that he had, he kind of would skulk around the outskirts of the encampment, and my players for, I give them lots of credit for role playing that as I'm walking around the table pretending to skulk at them, and pretending, they pretended they couldn't see me, hiding and jumping out at them and trying to scare them, and basically threatening some of them. So it could have devolved into something worse. I mean, they could have attacked them, I guess, but they didn't. They stuck with it, and I think they really got the idea of what was going on, that there was some sort of brain malfunction that needed to be cured. And one of the players is a paladin, one of the players is a cleric, and they were really trying very hard to find a way to cure him. And it wasn't just, I never allow cure spells to actually heal like mental problems. You have to kind of work them out or whatever, or find out what the cause is anyways. And in this particular instance, there was a specific pattern that had to be dealt with. Basically, he had to confront the death of all his friends, otherwise he would continue to live his life as each of the friends. He would keep their memory alive by playing them out. And I think what happened was on the third day of the trip, I actually rolled again, and he came back as the cleric. So they were familiar with the cleric, and the cleric was kind of familiar with them. So they role played that out, and they tried a little bit more to help him, and they got more of the backstory, so on and so forth. And by the fifth, no, it was the end of the fourth day, they came to where they found that where the Great Moraz battle had happened, and they found the bodies of all his friends. And I had set it up so there was a particular order on how they should bury. If they buried each of the victims, the cleric, the druid, the cleric, the sorcerers, the shade, the rogue, and the dwarf, if they buried him in a particular order, that would help to cure him. And basically, the players thought about it, and I had given them hints as to who during the conversations that they had with him, and eventually they did end up curing him, and he ends up joining their party. But I think I really had a great time playing that character as, and the players seem to really get into it. That whole, you have this little halfling, and I think the imagery was right there. I never got to play the dwarf part, which is what I was really looking forward to, because I had him, he had his actor's kit and disguise kit with him, so he could put on like a fake beard, and they would have had him, trudging around as a dwarf, all 30 pounds of halfling with with an axe, no armor, because there's no way he could wear the dwarf armor. I mean, you can't. There's no way that he could have worn it. So I just thought. I thought you guys might enjoy hearing about that one NPC. I really enjoyed him, and he's joined the player characters, and he's been following them around for a while as one of those NPCs that stays with them for quite a bit of time. It could have turned out totally different. I mean, it's not unusual for my players to, if something strange starts happening, to leap out of the night and attack someone and kill them. So I was glad that they actually stuck with the role playing instead of their normal vicious hack and slash style. They actually role played it out, and we had a really good time doing that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Win, I'm glad that you're posting videos again. Kind of missed you when you were gone. And hey, thanks for watching, guys.